Welcome to Fierce Fit Feminine and Other F Words, a place where women in business come to learn more about health, beauty, body language, and communication. I'm Christine Brunelli, chiropractor and former beauty salon owner turned certified image consultant, helping you glow from the inside out. Today, I'm going to help you glow in your zone of genius. Have you ever thought about what that is? There's a zone of excellence and there's a zone of genius. And I've been reading a book that I want to share excerpts and ideas with you to help you think about it, because I've been in a massive enlightening period and I'm in my 50s. You might think you know, but you might be stuck in your zone of excellence. What's the difference between excellence and genius? That's what we're going to talk about today, and that's what I want to help you uncover right now. Are you ready? Let's dive in. When I was a child, 8, 9, or 10 years old, somewhere in there, I grew up on my grandmother's property in New Jersey. It was 50 acres, but it was divided. Her homestead, the one she grew up in, was on 25 acres, and her own home was on the other 25. And I took neighborhood kids for nature walks on the 25 acres. Now, I was not a naturalist. I'm still not a naturalist. I love nature. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I organized a group of kids and we walked along my grandmother's property, and I have no idea what possessed me to do this. I promise I'm not someone that's going to ask someone to drink some Kool-Aid and have some kind of acid trip, but I had everyone taste and suck on a twig from a birch tree. And I explained to them that it tasted like root beer, because to me it did. So I'm like, you've got to taste these twigs. And I would have these kids snap the branches off the birch tree and suck on them. Oh my gosh, I can't even right now. It was in the 1970s and they did it. I don't know. It was, anyway, that connects to the next story. Shortly after that, I don't know how old I was, but a little older than 10, my grandmother's home had one of those basements that, oh, how do I describe this door? Think of a scary movie where the door is in the ground and they open, it's double doors that swing open and you have to step down. So you access the basement from the outside from doors in the ground. Can you picture that? That was my grandmother's house. And under there, it was the water heater, the boiler, all the things that make noise, all of the aluminum and copper and things like that, with a cinder block wall. And it was a concrete floor, and it was an old house. This is my grandmother. She's no longer here, rest her soul. So this was a super old house. And I decided that I was going to run a haunted house and charge the kids 25 cents in the neighborhood to come through the haunted house. And my sister and I'd give her a job, and it would be pitch black down there. And I would have the kids like kind of blindfolded a little bit. And then we would, as soon as they turned a corner, we would bang on the water heater so it made a loud crash, all kinds of things. Anyway, I was always up to something. I was always organizing and pulling people together and doing a thing. They had no connection. The thing had no connection. It always was just me pulling people together, doing a thing to elicit certain emotions. And most of it was an experience, like a positive. I didn't like people that go to haunted houses. Even though it's a terrifying experience, if you're somebody that likes it, you know, you're scared, but you go because you love it. There's just this weird emotion connected to it. And so I've always been that person that has organized and pulled people together and done things like that. And then, fast forward to my 50s, well, 30s, 40s, 50s, my entire life, I've been in front of people. I have been teaching fitness classes since I was 16 years old. I've been in front of people. We've been organizing, bringing classes together, and fast forward to being a business owner, building teams, helping them get behind a common vision, generating a certain atmosphere, a feeling in the workspace. So it's really fun to reflect back on your life and see what the common thread is. What is the common thread? And the other interesting thing about my common thread is it has been over 95% girls when I was a little girl and women as an adult that I've worked with. Hasn't been men. And I have some theories about that. I don't know if those theories are legit. So we're not talking about me anymore, but I wanted to lay the foundation of why this is important. I have a book that I've been reading. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's really good. If you're in business, in leadership, if you're trying to bust through to the next level, I want you to go out and pick up this book. It's Conquer Your Hidden Fear and Take Life to the Next Level. And it's a New York Times best-selling book. It's not brand new, but what's really cool is the book helps you reflect and realize what you're good at. That's your zone of excellence, what you're really good at, and then what your zone of genius is, the next thing. And I've been really dwelling on this, and that's where all these stories from my childhood came from reading this book, because here's the thing. If you're in your zone of excellence right now, this is what it potentially feels like. You are getting paid for something you do really well. You're good at it. You can do it with your eyes closed. You can do it with your hands tied behind your back. You don't need to memorize anything because you've said it so many times over and over again in your work that you know it inside and out, and it's secure. There's no messing with the formula. You are so good at it. There is nothing wrong with that. That is your zone of excellence. That's your thing. That's what you're good at. Getting out of the zone of excellence is really scary. In fact, if you try to move out of the zone of excellence, you question yourself because you're like, why would I do that? That's why a career pivot is so hard for people, because the zone of excellence, you're getting paid and you have security, right? You have security in this thing. You are good at it. It might be what you went to school for. It might be a trade that you learned years ago or something you're just good at. We'll leave it there. The zone of genius is a completely different thing. It might have components of your zone of excellence, but it might not be the zone of excellence at all. And that's what this book is helping me uncover. But the first thing I want you to think about is, are you in your zone of excellence right now? And do you feel fulfilled? Because that is the question that's going to help you know if you're in your zone of genius or not. Because you very well might be in your zone of genius in your work right now. If you lose track of time in your work, if you feel fulfilled at the end of the workday, if you feel excited to wake up and go to work, if you love it, if it's something that you would do for free, if it's something like that, that is your zone of genius. Doesn't necessarily look exactly like your zone of excellence. There's a difference. So let me give you another example from my life. I teach dance fitness and Zumba classes. Love it. I love it. I mean, basically, if you talk to any fitness instructor in the world, they'll tell you it's basically doing it for free because you don't do it for the money. You don't get paid well for it. It's a passion. You do it because you love it. And it is a passion for me. I don't do it for the money. I would do it for free. I have done it for free. And I have been reading this book going, why? What is it? Why do I love that so much? And I'm realizing it's because I'm in my zone of genius when I'm doing it. All has to do with my early childhood, taking a group of people from point A to point B with a certain experience. So the first thing I want you to think about is a set of Russian dolls. This is an example I've taken from the book, The Big Leap, and it's a brilliant example. I want you to think of those nesting dolls. Have you ever seen those where you have like this outer doll and then you open it and there's a smaller one inside and then a smaller one inside and you keep going? Great little toy. I had a set for my kids. I love them. I don't know what it is about it. There's something, I don't know, nostalgic about it, but it's a great learning toy for children as well. Think about those. That outer doll is the big picture. It's what you do. It's what you're known for. That is your zone of excellence. I want you to think about when you are doing something related to anything. It doesn't have to be your job, but when you are doing something you love and you lose track of time, you would use the words, I'm in the zone. This feels so good. I wish I could do this for a living. When you're doing that thing, what is it? So we're taking that, we're looking at the outer doll. That's your current job. We're going to take it apart and go to the next doll. When is it that you feel like in the zone? You love it. You lose sense of time. You're really good at it. What is it? Think about that. Is it running meetings? Is it when you're doodling? Is it when you are creative and making something? What is it? I want you to think about what that is, because that's the first step in being able to identify getting out of the zone of excellence into the zone of genius. and being able to articulate your unique ability. Because really, when you get in that zone, that's your superpower that's at work. It doesn't mean nobody else in the world has that same superpower. It just means that you have a superpower, a unique ability, a zone of genius that lights you up. You love it, but it's not necessarily in your work specifically. It's not what you're known for. It's just something you know. For me, when I'm leading a group of people, there's a shift in energy for me personally in my body, and there's also a shift in the room. I can read a room and I sense a shift in a room. So I can change the energy in a room by having this weird thing that I don't have a word for. I don't know if it's intuition. I don't know what it is, but I can read a room and I can help the room be on a track toward a positive energy. That is like really getting down to like the next level doll, right? Okay, so I know that I feel like I am in my zone when I'm teaching something that it was going to help someone have a positive experience. I just got done teaching a 3-day challenge. I taught women how to go live, and it was called Go Live and Thrive. And in May, I did a challenge called the 3-Day Camera Confidence Challenge. These were my first 2 challenges online I'd ever done. And I have to tell you, I love it so much that I could do that all day long every week. I could go live on camera, on a stage, teach, educate, equip, empower, and encourage. Those are my words. That is when I feel like, gosh, I could do this all the time. What is it for you? I'm going to read a couple things out of this book because I want to help you start to be able to think about it so that you're able to articulate it. Okay. So I don't want to read you chapters because nobody wants to hear that, but I want to give you some things to start with. The author of the book is working with a woman. She's a 40-year-old CEO in the Silicon Valley in California in a consulting firm. And he asked her about her unique ability. What is your unique ability? That's the first question. What is your unique ability? If I were to sit down across from you and I'll just say, what's your unique ability? What would you say? Her answer was running meetings. That was the outermost Russian doll. It wasn't even her job title. That could almost be zone of excellence. This CEO said, I feel like I'm really good at running meetings. And I want you to think about your work or something. If I were sitting with you in your work and I would say, what are you really good at? Because that's a good starting place. You could be really good at cooking. You could be really good at so many different things, but let's not make it so broad because I really want to help you because I believe if you can use it in your work, use this question coming from the context of your work, it will apply to anything. So what is it what's your unique ability? What are you good at? Now, this next question the author asked is what takes you to the next level doll, right? So the outer level is the running meetings. The author said, okay, great. So when you're running meetings, what is it that you're doing when you're at your very best? That's a great question. Like, what is it? So for me, what is it that I'm doing when I'm in front of a group and I feel like I'm in my zone and I'm at my very best? I have come up with something I believe I'm uncovering it and unraveling it in the present time as I'm sharing this episode with you, but I'm so right there. I'm just at the edge, and it's so cool to know that I'm identifying this, and I want you to do the same thing. So what are you really good at? And then what are you doing when you are doing that thing? What are you doing when you're at your very best? What is the thing? This next question is the one that will stump you. It stumped me. I think it'll give you a good thing to think about. And I'm going to slow my roll because as you're listening, I want you to really take this in and process it. I want you to take some time, and I'm going to let like a couple seconds go by while you're thinking about it. So the question was, what are you doing when you're at your very best? And she gave her answer and a little bit more detail. And then the next question, the author said, what gives you the ability to know when to do that? And let me go back. The CEO of this consulting firm, when he said, the author said, what are you doing when you know you're at your very best? This person said, one thing I know is I know how to gracefully cut off a conversation or discussion and move along, because she's good at running meetings. And the question the author said was, what gives you the ability to know when to do that? So that question will hit pause for you probably. So what is it that is your unique ability? When you're in that unique ability, what are you doing when you know you're at your very best inside that ability? So the unique ability is the outer Russian doll. This next question, what are you doing? That's the next Russian doll. The next layer is, how do you know when to do that thing that you're doing that puts you at your very best? How do you know? How do I know that I need to shift the energy of a room when I'm teaching or whatever I'm teaching, whether it's an online challenge, whether it's a Zumba fitness or dance class, whether I'm entertaining inside my home is something I have. What is it for you? What would that be? Give yourself time to sit with that for a minute. What is your unique ability? What are you doing when you're in that ability and you're at your very best? And the third question is, how do you know when you need to do that? How do you know when you need to do the thing to put you at your very best? Great questions, right? For me, I think my childhood prepared me for what I'm doing now. And there are things in my childhood that put me in a position of nurturing and taking care of other people, helping them feel seen and safe, helping them have a happy experience. I grew up in a domestic violent home, and I was trying to create an atmosphere that felt safe and fun and happy. That's what I wanted. Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sharing this with you. Those childhood experiences created my zone of genius. They created it. That was the foundation of what I'm doing today, that I can lose all sense of time. I would do it for free. That is what my zone of genius is. That's the smallest doll in the set of Russian nesting dolls. That's the smallest doll. What is it for you? I want you to find it because it's so cool. When you find it, like I am doing right now, I'm still not finished this book. I have a couple chapters in the end to go through because it's not something it's not a page turner. It's a chapter, you read it and you sit with it and go, oh my gosh, this is really good. I have to think about this. And you go through the grocery store and you're thinking about it, or you're making breakfast and you're thinking about it. I want you to get there because as you start to uncover it, you feel lighter. You really are starting to realize, oh, it's not just what I'm good at, it's my purpose. Your zone of genius is connected deeply to your purpose. And that's a word I try not to use because it's been so overused that we're like, oh my gosh, if I have one more conversation about purpose, I don't want that. I just want to help people, right? But that really isn't just the purpose. It's deeper than that. And that's why this example of the nesting dolls is so good. Okay, now here's the part that keeps us stumped. And this is where I feel like the book is really good. There is a time when we are in the zone of genius that we self-sabotage, or we can't bust through. There's a glass ceiling and we keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. We can't bust through. The author calls that an upper limit problem. There's some type of upper limit problem where you or we don't allow ourselves to experience the joy of being in the zone of genius. We stop ourselves. We stop short. We'll give ourselves a couple seconds and then we'll pull back. That felt so good. Oh my gosh, this is costing so much money. Okay. And then that one thought of how much money it costs kills the vibe. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think there was an example the author gave of going through a jewelry store window and going, oh my gosh, I love this jewelry store. I bought this jewelry for my significant other, for my wife or whatever, and was just dwelling on how happy and grateful they were to have the means to do that and how much they love their spouse and all of these things. And then instantly had feelings of guilt because they had family member that didn't have enough money to send their kid to college. Instantly killed the vibe of that joy. We self-sabotage because we allow these thoughts to come in and they don't let us stay in our zone of genius, our zone of bliss, the zone of happiness, whatever you want to call it. Our mindset is coming back into play here. So now we need to discover, after you know your zone of excellence, you've identified your zone of genius, why are we not in it? What is the upper level, upper limiting belief, whatever it is? It's some upper level. It's something up there that is there at the glass ceiling going, yeah, it's there. You can feel it a little bit, but you're not going to stay here because I'm going to come at you and tell you why you shouldn't. What is it for you? What stops you? I wonder. I'm working on this myself as well. And I have a lot of things that stop me. And I'll just be a little vulnerable here. Came from very little means financially as a child. And I never had the belief that I couldn't do something. I always had a belief that I can do whatever I set my mind to. But I did have, because it was domestic violence, I did have an issue with love, with self-love, with feeling seen, nurtured, all of those things, because when it's a domestic violence situation, a lot of times your mom and dad are in survival mode. Kids are okay, kind of, but you feel like, I just want to feel loved. Like I just want to. And so whenever I would experience glimpses of love, later through life, like peppered through like my journey, it would bring tears to my eyes because I never really felt authentic, like one-on-one, dialed in, I'm paying attention to you, Christine. Like you are, anyone that speaks life into me, I cry. That thing, that feeling, I can self-sabotage because I'll go back to, I don't know how to receive this, and I don't want to feel emotions because I built walls around myself when I was a child. So don't make me feel anything. Don't make me feel too happy. Don't make me feel too sad. Just let me be even Steven. I'm going to live right here. And that is an upper level belief that is stopping me. It's a barrier. Okay, now that I've gone first, I want to help you discover your upper limiting belief that's preventing you from staying in your zone of genius for a long time. And the author gives 4. And the first example is feeling fundamentally flawed. And feeling fundamentally flawed means, well, mine would probably fall under that, right? I'm not worthy of feeling this love, being noticed, being nurtured, because truly that's probably what it is, right? It's like not really realizing, because I never did have that. I never had that, the father figure that I felt safe with and the whole thing. And so, it's not that I believe I'm flawed right now in my 50s. Yes, I'm not a perfect person, but I believe I'm worthy. But subconsciously, there's something in there that stops it. I push away, right? We all have something like that. So feeling fundamentally flawed somehow, meaning you're not worthy, you don't deserve, there's something wrong with you. And so you'll experience that moment of bliss, that zone of genius, and then you'll stop it because of worthiness, because there's something wrong with you. And that's one of them. The next one is disloyalty and abandonment. You can't expand into your full potential because it would cause you to end up all alone. Be disloyal to your roots and leave behind people from your past. You know what? That's actually a thing. I had a client who was working in her father's construction company, and it was my dog is sitting here trying to bury a bone. So if you hear any digging or noise, I'm just telling you, he's a little Havanese, and he's right under the microphone. So if you hear any noise, that's what it is. But she wanted to leave working in his company, and she really knew she was good at what she was doing in his company. She had grown up in the company. It took care of her as she was a child, all of those things. And she ended up a year ago walking out and starting her own business, walking away. And here he goes. He's digging. Hey, stop that. She started her own business and it's gone bananas. It's an online business. She's building teams and it's gone bananas because she no longer feared the abandonment, the feeling like she was going to lose her people, she decided, I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. I wonder if you can relate to that. The next hidden barrier would be believing that more success brings more burden. You can't expand into your highest potential because you'd be an even bigger burden than you are now. You'd have more problems, just bigger problems, and whatever those are. The author shared his own experience that when he was born, he was both a burden and a celebration. And the burden was he was born no father. The father died while he was in the womb, and the mother had no money when the father passed away, the author's mother, and already had an older brother. And so it was a burden, but also a celebration. So I have another baby. I don't have a father to help. I don't have money. I'm trying to raise these babies, but I'm also a celebration because I'm a new life and the grandparents were happy. Well, those beliefs, the burden and the celebration were taken into childhood and the author of this book wrestled with that whole concept of, being a burden or being abandoned or being celebrated, like the back and forth. All of those childhood things come through later and limit us if we can't identify them. The final one that is used in this book that would stop you from busting through the glass ceiling in your zone of genius is the crime of outshining. I've experienced this, and I wonder if you have, and I'm over it now because I'm no longer a people pleaser. I used to be. And it is, you can't expand into your full success or potential because if you did, you would outshine somebody. Who would that be? Insert the name. And that would make them look bad and feel bad, and you don't want that. Do you have that? I had that. In fact, I don't want to go into it right now, but I will share this in another episode later, where I was in my zone of genius. I was getting recognized for my zone of genius and in a business situation, and the other person in the business was just screeching mad, jealous. It was just like a comparison thing. And because of that, I backed off. Because that was years and years and years ago when I was stuck in people pleasing. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not trying to outshine someone. I'm just trying to help. And that's how we are as people pleasers, right? Until you wise up and you realize it's on you if you feel insecure. It's not on me. Okay, so we have covered a lot, and I want you to really think back, recap, nesting dolls. What are you good at? What's your unique ability? What is it? It's the outer doll. What are you doing when you're in the zone of that ability? When you know you're at your very best, what is it that you're doing? What is it? That's the next doll. And then the next level is, how do you know to do that thing that you're doing that puts you in the zone? How do you know to do it? What is it in you? What innate thing is in you that you know? All of those help you uncover your zone of genius. Now let's move forward and say, why are we not walking in our zone of genius every day? And by the way, getting paid for it. Why? You don't have to get paid for it. You can just operate in your zone of genius in your current position where you are, and it will make your work much more enjoyable, much more rewarding. And if you work for someone else, you can be rewarded with a raise because they'll see, oh my gosh, this person's amazing, because you look more amazing when you're in your zone of genius. Doesn't mean you stop doing your zone of excellence. You just take it up a level. But if you're self-employed like I am, you're a business owner, you're a coach, a consultant, a service provider, your zone of genius, when you're there, what is stopping you from busting through that ceiling to go through and soar with it? That is the big leap. That's the name of this book. Identify that upper level problem, the 4 that we just went through. What is it that stops you so that you can bust through and go high? Make a quantum leap into the next level. I hope this helped you as much as I am processing as I'm sharing and reading this book. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, I can always be found on social media at Christine Brunelli is my handle just about anywhere. Or you can email me, info@christinebrunelli.com. That's it for today. Stay fierce, my friend. You've got this. I'll be back next time. See you then. If you liked this episode, go to Apple Podcasts and hit the stars. A review is something that helps podcasters know if they're hitting the mark with their listeners. That is a great way for us to get feedback. I would so appreciate it if you would give me a review. And until next time, have a fierce, fit, feminine, and fabulous day.